Blessings, beloveds. Anastasia here today. I'm going to just do a little short video on the upcoming full moon, which is happening on the 3rd and 4th of November, depending on where you are on this planet. So today is the 2nd. I'm a little bit slow. I've just been very, very busy. Anyway, that aside, okay, so the first thing is that I guess we all know a full moon is when the moon is opposing the sun in the heavens, right? So the full moon is going to be in Taurus, and the moon itself is going to be in Taurus, and that will be at around about 12 degrees. The sun is in Scorpio, and that's at around about 12 degrees as well. Now, sitting right next to Jupiter, right next to the sun, we have Jupiter, because as we know, Jupiter entered Scorpio just very recently. We have Mercury in Scorpio trailing sort of ahead. Mercury is actually very late in Scorpio, so it's getting ready to leave. So the closest aspects that this particular full moon has is from Jupiter and Venus. It's also aspected by Pluto and Neptune. I'm going to talk about what that actually means. But first of all, just some basic points, I guess you could say. So with this lead up to the full moon, because the new moon, which was a couple of weeks ago, was in Libra, and whilst it was in a fairly balanced sign, it was opposed by the planet Uranus, so that that could have stirred a few things up in a good way, and in perhaps a challenging way for people who are not able to work with the Uranian type of energy. So that could have caused some disruptions, and some unpredictable things may have come up in the world of relationships for you during that time, during the new moon, which was a couple of weeks ago. A lot of restless kind of energy, unpredictability, unable to contain and control, because Uranus is all about freedom. Okay, so the energy sort of started from that a couple of weeks ago, and now 2 weeks later we're just about to head into the full moon. And the full moon is carrying a lot of that Scorpio energy, because we have the sun in Scorpio, Jupiter in Scorpio, and Mercury in Scorpio. So while we've been working with this Scorpio energy the past few weeks, it certainly would have brought up a lot of issues around fears, jealousies. On a more positive note, would have brought up some deep desires that we want to further explore and understand, and really wanting to get to the bottom of things, essentially, because Scorpio is all about scraping through all the false bullshit that sits on the surface level and it likes to penetrate very deep. So when you're working with Scorpio energy, there's no hiding. It's just, it will actually be revealed, because that's the nature of Scorpio. That's what it does. It's the agent of transformation, and it is the energy that penetrates the deepest in our psyche, our unconscious and subconscious aspects of who we are. So this, we've got Jupiter in Scorpio, which is a real blessing, actually, and I did a video on that. So I'm not going to go into that a great deal, but it is important to mention because it is conjunct the sun, and therefore aspecting this full moon, which adds again that whole layer of Scorpio from the point of view of opportunities to expand your consciousness, to bring things up from the subconscious and unconscious realms that we actually, on a waking sort of level, if you like, on a conscious state, we don't know how to access. There are, certain methods and practices and techniques that people would use to actually penetrate, deeper into those realms of the subconscious and unconscious mind, where all this stuff lives, you could say. A lot of it is from past life stuff. It's past life residue. A lot of it is from the past in this life, and a lot of it is current as well. But, you know, just remember that the way we operate on a day-to-day basis is like from the surface level of when you see the iceberg in the ocean. Well, the iceberg is that part of us that thinks we're awake and we're in tune and, you know, connected and all of that. But then, you know, what's happening underneath, which basically creates those impulses and unpredictable elements that we essentially feel like we have no control over. So we've been dealing with a lot of this heavy Scorpio energy, which, depending on where you're at in your life and what you are open to and what level of evolution you're at and what you are trying to transform at this stage in your life. Well, this Scorpio energy with Jupiter there is really going to assist this process for you dramatically, you know. And Jupiter's not a hard energy, you know. Jupiter offers a lot of gifts and blessings, as I've said previously. So it's going to help you. It's going to help you really expand and actually break down the walls and the barriers that have essentially masked things or held you back, or you just haven't felt able to go into those levels within your own self, and certainly within the world of relationships. Because going back to this particular full moon, as I said, it started in Libra a couple of weeks ago when it was new moon, so the whole relationship principle began a journey in terms of this month, and now into the full moon. Because the moon is in Taurus, the moon actually is, when we're talking about planets being in their prime position, the moon in Taurus is actually called exalted. It's an exalted moon. So when somebody has an exalted moon, it's a very powerful moon. It brings a lot of blessings and gifts. It's a really beautiful moon, actually. So the moon in Taurus itself, by its very nature, is not difficult at all. So because we've had a lot of this intensity going on, and that has, you know, opened things up for people emotionally, on deeper levels, in, you know, self-examination, you know, going deeper in and asking deeper questions perhaps, and asking truths, you know, asking for truths to emerge through you, because nobody knows you better than you. That's a fact. It doesn't matter who you speak to. So it's really that ability to probe much deeper and get deeper answers, and of course certainly deeper questions. So that's the energy that we've sort of been working with the last few weeks. And you know, the moon in Pisces a couple of days ago, I find, I don't know for you guys, but personally for me, I've got strong Pisces in my chart anyway. So every time the moon is in Pisces, I literally feel like I'm partially blissed out, and partially feel a lot of sadness as well, because there's a lot of sensitivity that comes up. It's just tuning into the vibration of the collective, and you know, all the different things that go on in the world, you know, because it's not, we haven't reached that level collectively where we have ascended to a new earth yet. But obviously all the work that everyone is doing from many different paths is really helping the ascension process collectively and for us individually. But certainly it is up to us, and it is our responsibility to step up and actually do things on that level. Back to the full moon. Okay, so yeah, I was just saying how the moon in Pisces a couple of days ago, you know, because it was actually conjunct by Chiron, because Chiron is in Pisces, and Chiron spends a really, really long time in certain signs, and one of them is Pisces, like a really super long time. Now, Chiron's orbit is about, well, from 49 to 51 years, depending on what sign it's in. So it moves faster through some signs and slower through others, hence why its orbit is around about there. But it's usually about 50, 51 years. So we've had Chiron in Pisces for quite some time. I just can't quite remember right now exactly when it went into Pisces, but it's been a while. And Chiron in Pisces has really, really opened up incredible wounds that people have been either born into, developed through this incarnation, through certain experiences, whether it's relationships or other aspects of life, and certainly what we bring in with us from the past as well. So the moon with Pisces a couple of days ago, you know, that was a really, really sensitive time, but also a very a highly sensitized time to actually tune into your intuition, and again go into, you know, much deeper dimensions within your own self. So today the moon's in Aries, and you know, I've personally felt really energized. As I said before, I'm in Aries, so I've got a few planets in Aries. So when the moon's in Aries, I can the moon's lunation cycle is so fascinating to me, even though it's such a fast cycle, because we experience this lunation cycle over the course of 1 month. But I personally am so in tune with the moon. I know what sign the moon is in. I don't even have to look at it. You know, I literally feel it. And there are very specific signs for me that I instantly know. I know when the moon's in Aries, I know when the moon's in Pisces, and I know when the moon's in Scorpio. Instantly, I don't think about it, I just know. Just very in touch with those particular energies. So the moon being in Aries today has given me a lot of energy, and I've been to the gym. I've done a whole bunch of stuff today before I sat down to do this video. So as it gets into Taurus, which is its placement of being a full moon, I think it's going to be a really great opportunity, or not an opportunity, because that relates more to Jupiter, but Jupiter is involved in this full moon, so yeah, I guess you could say opportunity. But, you know, Taurus is the earth. It's the earth that we are a part of, that we engage with, that breathes us. You know, without trees, we wouldn't have oxygen. You know, it goes on and on and on in terms of the connections with everything and the oneness, you know, that is there in everything. So, Taurus moon, earthy, grounding, centered, calm, senses, money for some, because, you know, Taurus is all about our resources, you know, both internal and external. So this is just going to be a really fairly nice time during this full moon to, yeah, I actually thought about this before, and what really came to me very clearly, kind of from another space, you could say, I felt that this Taurus moon is going to be wonderful, because all that Scorpio intensity that we've been working with the past few weeks, which has had some really great things arise because of Jupiter in Scorpio, but nevertheless, anything you're not ready for is not going to feel great for you. Pardon me. So when life presents us with situations that require us to look through the bullshit and actually be really honest about ourselves and our life, if you're not ready to do that, you know, that's resistances come up, denial, you know, all sorts of stuff. But Scorpio really invites us to go into that deeper realm and, you know, make sense of our desires, make sense of the subconscious and unconscious drivers within us, because we think we're driving this body and this life, and that we are controlling it. But, you know, on a very large level, we're not. And what I mean by we're not is that from the ego level, we're never really driving. our life path, or this body really. It's always the soul's intentions and purpose that is the primary driver of what's going on in your life. So, you know, bring in all this Scorpio energy, there's going to be an invitation to go down into that driver's seat and have a look at what's going on, you know, so to speak. And of course that brings up a lot of fears, because Scorpio can bring up a lot of fears, because it brings up all that dark stuff, you know, whether it's for better or for worse, it just brings it up. So you're either able to deal with it, in a position to deal with it, want to deal with it, or not. You know, that's an individual thing. So this moon in Taurus is going to be really beautiful to help people get a little bit sort of grounded and a little bit more relaxed with the intensity that's been going on and the various things that have emerged and you know, come up from the depths and into the surface, where now they can be seen by the conscious mind. So the moon in Taurus will stabilize, if you like, these very intense, or the very intense world of feelings, which is being strongly invoked by this Scorpio energy at the moment. So, you know, look, we have a full moon every month, we have a new moon every month, we have, you know, all the different phases every month. And there's always somebody doing a video on the full moon and on the new moon, I've noticed. And yes, I'm jumping on board, and I'm speaking through, obviously, what I see, what I understand, and what I wish to share. So that's the essential energy of this full moon. It has that beautiful Taurus grounding component, which can really stabilize a lot of the world that has perhaps left people feeling like the rug's been pulled out from under their feet, or they've been exposed. You know, we certainly know in the media, and I didn't want to bring this up, but it seems to be quite relevant with what I'm talking about right now. You know, the Jupiter in Scorpio has brought up all these all these sex scandals going on in Hollywood, with, you know, producers having allegations against them for, you know, being a pedophile, for, you know, sexually abusing people, etc. So that's that whole Jupiter in Scorpio bringing all that stuff up at the moment. Yeah, so, okay, going back to this full moon, the other interesting thing about this full moon is that it is aspected by Pluto. Now, Pluto rules Scorpio as a secondary ruler in terms of rulerships for the planets, because Scorpio is ruled by Mars, but you can never deny the power of Pluto. Pluto is an incredibly powerful force that moves through everyone's life in some way, shape or form at various stages. So Pluto is actually in a really beautiful aspect to the Sun and a beautiful aspect to the Moon. So it's actually sextile the Sun and trine the Moon. Now that's great, because what that means is that this perhaps emotional purging that we've been going through, and these deeper seeking levels of self-examination, which means your whole life, really, doesn't it? What this is suggesting is that all that work that you've been doing over the past few weeks is being really supported at the moment by Pluto being sextile the Sun and trine the Moon. So that adds more ease and more flow during this full moon. And also with Neptune there, trine the Sun and sextile the Moon, that's a beautiful aspects that Neptune is making to the Sun and the Moon, and it adds that, certainly the spiritualized, unconditional, divine love energy to this full moon. And of course it brings with it all the illusions that Neptune in Pisces can bring as well. So, you know, it could just be that some people feel, you know, really romantic and quite idealistic, you know, about their relationship, or about perhaps someone they met just recently as well. You know, don't forget Neptune and Pisces. It's like looking through a fog. That's what that energy is like. So there's not a lot of clarity when it comes to this earthly dense 3D reality, because Neptune in Pisces is not of this reality. That is the one sign and the one planet that is so far removed from this physical dimension. Hence, it doesn't really blend in. It's that mystical, spiritual, divine love energy. So, you know, it's sextile the moon, the full moon in Taurus. It's trine the sun, and so it's adding that whole spiritualized and idealized element to this full moon. So whilst there's soft aspects, meaning they're easy aspects, they add a beautiful flow energy. There's no resistance or blockages. It's just an ease of energy and flow. But I'm inclined to perhaps suggest that, because we're talking about Neptune, and because the full moon is in Taurus, and for some people that can be the money world, you know, very much, you might just want to be a little bit mindful of that, and make sure that if you're going to be investing in something pretty significant from a monetary perspective, you may want to get, you know, another opinion, and really consider that very carefully, because Neptune it's a fog. You cannot see things very clearly as they really are. And Venus is the ruler of this full moon, because Venus rules Taurus. So again, that brings in the element of money, relationships, self-worth, and self-value. And that also connects to the moon in Taurus as well, because Taurus is about our self-worth and value. So how we value ourselves, and what we value in others, and what we value about life, essentially. So values come into this whole full moon energy as well. So there may just be things that light up at this point in your life. On these couple of days, I mean, with this full moon, some things might come to light in a certain way, because the full moon is illumination. It illuminates everything, right? So you get to see it in its full bloom. So yeah, look, overall, beautiful full moon. I don't see that there's anything too difficult about it. It's got some beautiful soft aspects, supported by Pluto, which is really important given all this intensity of stuff that the world has been going through, and all of us personally and individually as well. The only other thing that I guess might add a bit of an edge, I guess, would be that this full moon is square the nodes. Okay, so if you can just imagine full moon, there's the sun, there's the moon, so they're opposite each other, and the nodes are here. So it's kind of like a cross shape that's forming with the moon's nodes and the sun and the moon being opposite each other, creating the full moon. Now the nodes are always about, the south node holds us back, so we are really challenged to let go of certain predispositions and ingrained patterns, if you like, and certain behaviours. And the north node is always asking us to move forward into new behaviours, new experiences, new lessons that that are all about our soul's evolutionary path and growth. But because it is an uncertain or unclear or unknown energy, we're not inclined to do so. So I think this full moon might bring up a bit of an edge where there is still a sense for certain people where they're being pulled into past habits, and the push to move forward may be stronger for others, and it may be somebody that comes into your life that kind of enables that push, if you like, or that encouragement or that support. And it could be, and we're talking about old behaviors, old patterns, particularly ones that are not useful, that don't enable us to actually evolve and grow. Well, then it could be past connections or past relationships with certain people that actually hold you back. So that's just something for you to think about. Okay, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for listening, and hope you enjoyed. And yeah, feel free to comment, ask any questions, whatever. I'm open to receiving comments on any level, really, and if I can help you in some way, I'm more than happy to do that. I do readings for people, as many of you know, many of you don't, so please contact me if you would like to have a reading. Please like and share and subscribe if you did enjoy this. And just one other thing which is super important, and I say this in most of my videos. Now, the description I've just given you guys is a general overview of some highlights of this particular full moon, right? If you want to know how this moon affects you on a even more personal level, then of course you need to look at, where does this full moon land in your birth chart? Does it land in the first house? Does it land in the seventh house? Does it land in the fifth house? Each house has a different description, a different component or components of your actual life. So it's not just about looking at the full moon in Taurus and all the aspects it has and the potential energies that will manifest. It's about looking at, where does this full moon land in your chart? Because wherever it lands, that's where it's speaking to you from. It's speaking directly through that house, which is a particular area of your life. So I think that's pretty important to look at, right? Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that. Up to you what you do, but that would be my very strong recommendation. With any full moon or any new moon or any position of any planet in the heavens today, yesterday, 50 years ago, or in 100 years' time. Okay, you always want to look at, where are these planets in relation to your birth chart? Because that is what personalizes the energy for you and enables you to get layers of understanding and tune in. Because when you're able to tune in to something, you're working with it, aren't you? You know, you're not unaware, and you're not disconnected. You're literally making the conscious intention to tune into something. Well, that's what you're doing when you're looking for the full moon in your birth chart, or the new moon in your birth chart, or where's Jupiter and Scorpio in my chart. It's really important to know this stuff. And, you know, Jupiter doing its transit through one sign every year, because it has a 12-year orbit around the sun, it's really, really useful to know when Jupiter is in your first house, when Jupiter is in your second house, when Jupiter is in your third house, because Jupiter is about blessings, abundance, gifts, opportunities, expansion. Now, if you're able to be more receptive to that energy through your own chart personally, and that can actually offer you more out of your life, well, why wouldn't you want to know that? Of course you would. So yeah, hence the importance of always being able to look at your own birth chart with where everything is in reference to at the moment. So where is the full moon in Taurus for you? Have you had a look? Have a look. Astro.com. Yeah, astro.com. You can punch in your details, get a free chart, have a look. You know, many of you have already done that, doing that. Great. You know, I love it when people get into this stuff. Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching, and see you all soon. I'm actually going to do a video on Chiron, I've decided. Been doing a lot of reflecting on Chiron's movement through Pisces, and it has touched me personally in the biggest way through my existence in this incarnation so far. And it's been very interesting on the level of relationships for me, because Chiron has been conjunct my Venus natally. I've got Venus in Pisces, and it's been conjunct my Venus the last couple of years actually. And that's been a really interesting journey for me, you know, at the stage I'm at in my life at the moment, the age that I'm at, you know, the experiences I've had thus far, and what this Chiron in Pisces, conjunct my Venus in Pisces, has brought up. And, you know, much like anything in life, until you experience something, you may understand it on an intellectual, logical, rational level, and you may be able to deliver the information very eloquently and influentially, and draw people in and so forth, because some people are just, you know, fantastic communicators, they articulate really well, etc., etc. That's all fine and dandy, but in real life, you don't know what something feels like until you endure it yourself, okay? So how do you know what an orange tastes like if you haven't eaten an orange? You don't, do you? So my point being that with Chiron actually being conjunct my Venus, now I read 20 years ago, you know, what Chiron conjunct Venus would mean. And yeah, I understood it on a few different levels, and I could explain it to people on a few different levels. But now that I've lived it, it's, you know, life experience adds so much to the richness of your soul and what you're able to share as a result of that. So I'll leave it there. Thanks guys, see you soon, bye.